Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track by an act named Arlo titled I'm Only Going to Hurt You. And if we switch over to here, it's the first time in a while that I've reviewed Arlo's work. I've listened through tracks such as I'm Not Okay, The End of Us, and I think I've listened through some of his other material as well. I've even interviewed the guy, and today we're going to be listening through his latest track, or at least the one I'm reviewing most recently of his, called I'm Only Going to Hurt You, should I say. We're going to listen through it from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, what do we got? I'm liking how this riff loops. Got a kind of new metalish feel, like early Linkin Park kind of stuff.
I'm only gonna fuck this up. I'm only gonna leave you now. I'm only gonna break your heart again and break my promises. I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt the hook. I want to just sort of talk about how solid the single is so far. I mean, the sound of the guitars with the drums, the balancing of that with the vocals being present in the mix like that, and the tone of the angst of it all, you know. I'm only gonna fuck this up, right? That's what they're saying there. Damn, dude, it hits deep. Beautiful harmonies in the background. I mean, the production value of having the vocals go from side to side there and the space there, this is a musician who's starting to really get some polish to their work. Okay, yeah, there's a little bit of a low-end resonance here, which I appreciate going into this. You mean like he sounds genuinely so disappointed and sad about the situation. They have like no faith in their ability to have like a healthy situation occur here. And I mean, like the lead guitar riff on top of the rhythm chords, the dusty kind of distortion they have there, alongside the drums kind of driving us forward there to the inevitable conclusion. It's wild, man. So before I go into the last chorus, I think that additional bit of context there, talking about how like even though he knows what's going to happen, he just cannot let that person go. And I like how he's calling out. The performance there seems very authentic, like they're really kind of digging deep to be able to get the story out to the audience. And I think that's fantastic. You know, it's very sincere sounding. And I like the minimalism within the accompaniment only for the fact that I think that Arlo's voice is a great focal point. I don't really think we need to take away from it too much, you know. Bringing out the drums here is a classic techniques, but it works. Kind of a misty feel.
I'm only gonna fuck this up.
Great chord, no groove.
I'm only gonna force up.
I mean, I've heard similar qualities of tracks from major label acts, like without any hyperbole there, like we've got something really special here. It's really special here, I think. Because this is the conclusion of my review of this track but from Arlo called I'm Only Gonna Hurt You. What do I think this track is about? I think, as I said in the review, I think it's about someone who is genuinely struggling to cope with their feelings of attraction towards someone, wanting to have that connection there and being afraid of like letting that person go and not having anything with them, but simultaneously being aware of how dangerous it is for them to be even involved with that person in the first place, understanding the risks associated with that and the damage that could occur there. And I think it's this incredible sort of like cognitive dissonance that's portrayed very authentically by Arlo in the vocals. It's a really believable performance there. I've heard us sing over the time that he's been doing music, and I think it's definitely at a point there where I feel as if he's got it exactly where it needs to be. The melodies that we're putting in here are not only meaningful and make sense with the, like, they're minorish kind of scale shapes and stuff like that, but also it's catchy and it's got some elements of it that I appreciate. I mean, like, you can have a bit of edginess to the sound of your music, but you still need it to be relatively memorable, especially if it's a single. So having catchy vocal melodies and hook, there's absolutely no problem with that. And the AABA structure to his lines there, despite what's going on with the chord progressions, I think it's wonderful, you know. Good use of head and chest voice there, great presence in the mix, and I like the sides, how we have backing vocals in the last half of the hook sections, kind of elevating it. Like, we're aware of the fact that we need that extra kind of like depth in the stereo field to really kind of make it seem bigger. And like, I think at one point there's like vocal repeaters going left to right, which is as much a studio production sort of decision as is a vocal one, but still I appreciate how it's kind of like the thoughts going around in the person's head. And yeah, really well thought out. The vocals make sense in terms of the emotion, the performance of it with the story. There's definitely a connection there. And I feel bad for the guy. I really do. And that's how his performance makes me feel. It's great. It's really well done. Not a great situation, but the performance was well done. The song at 3 minutes 24 is within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot for singles. There's enough change within the track to make it worth your while. The theme itself does have this sort of like kind of youthful angst to it. I mean that genuinely, not in a patronizing way. It's like genuinely we're going through some shit and we're just having a really hard time coping with what's going on with ourselves, our experiences, our histories, etc. And the music sounds wistful, like we are wiser for the history we've had, but also it has a sense of regret to it, like we wish that we never gotten involved with this person in the first place, to be able to understand how much we shouldn't. Like, we appreciate knowing this knowledge, but only we also regret that this situation exists in the first place. That's what I got from this theme here, through these sort of like minor extensions here, the kind of sizzle in the mid-end there, a bit of grittiness to the tone of the guitars, etc. The style of drums we had there with interesting sort of fills there. It was nice to have variation with the drum beats, by the way. I like the tom fills we had occasionally and like the crescendos we had in the latter half going into the final chorus there. And while the mix was quite really well controlled in like the master chain, there was dynamic range to the actual performance itself. There were slight variations in energy levels and stuff like that didn't just revolve around removing the drums sometimes, etc. You know what I mean? I think that the way that the guitars were played was fantastic, you know, the moodiness of those minor chords, and as well as the lead licks on top. There was like a lead melody on top of the chorus parts especially, which was nice and bright, and coupled well with what Arlo was doing as more of a constant source of noise that kind of danced around what was going on with Arlo's different sort of like passages there vocally. The bass was nice and round in the low end there, kind of working well with the other elements and keeping in sync with the drum kit, which again had a great chord and no groove in those hook parts, but also wasn't like just a one groove kind of beat. There was variation, and there was never a point where I feel as if any of the styles of percussion were copied and pasted. It seems to me like every component of this track, you know, despite the fact that obviously, again, like there wasn't any sort of crazy progressive stuff going on with the use of instrument choices and stuff like that. There wasn't a ridiculous amount of adjustment with the expectation to the listener through constant introduction of new instruments and stuff like that. The guitars, bass, and drums and stuff like that kind of kept there for the most part throughout the entirety of the song. It's more that what they did was enough to get us by, and I'm happy for that. And I think that all in all makes a lot of sense there. I think the story works well with the vocals work well with the theme is supported well with the instruments, and the vocals sit well with the accompaniment. All in all, very well done, no complaints on that front. I think the use of a lead guitar as a final comment kind of nixes the need for having like a dedicated solo section or something like that. I think that having the interlude with as a kind of like more of a middle-aged kind of like reiteration of the story or the main theme was a smart idea, and I think that it ended really nice with that little kind of filtering kind of thing with the warm kind of thing, which of course brings us on to the studio production, the recording, mixing and mastering, which I'm very happy with. I think they did a great job here. The vocals were nice and clear in the mix, great filtering and EQing there. The drums were nicely controlled and tight. They worked well with the bass line without cutting into them too much. The guitars nice and sort of fizzy and warm sounding, had a great sort of presence there without being too overbearing in the mid-range there, and harmonized well, and it was basically the most colorful part of the mix there. And I think that alongside the variations in the vocal parts, that's all we really needed. We didn't need it to be too much brighter than that, especially with the combination of the rhythm and lead guitars. There were no weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. Things were well balanced there, and I think that it was nice and wide in the stereo field with automation of like the panning of stuff, etc., like the vocals in that sort of second verse part, which was cool, and the filtering at the end with the like kind of sort of wow, that sound at the end. And literally just like, again, the leveling is fantastic. The dynamic range, I don't know if I would have liked more of going into the final chorus section, but then it could also be something like with a sub drop or something like that. There could have been a sub drop that was like a little bit too subtle for the headphones I'm wearing, maybe through a different stereo speaker or something like that, because it did still feel like there's a bit of a boof going into the last chorus, etc. You know what I mean? It's just I probably need to listen to this through different headphones to really ascertain a final verdict on like whether I was happy with the amount of dynamic range or not, but so far it's good. Outside of that, it was nice and low without pumping. Limiting compression was handled well. I'm really happy to hear more of Arlo's stuff. I think they're at a point where they're really happy, and I share the privilege, or I have the privilege, should I say, of being able to listen to bands I've been reviewing for a little while now, over the time I've been a music reviewer, and I watch them grow. But, and it's really great to see and to hear, obviously. But this is my review of I'm Only Gonna Hurt You by Arlo. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go check out their various social medias and a Spotify page. And stay cool, stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.